Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Undergraduate Pilot Training Graduation Ceremony for Class 2401. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Michael Kissinger, Commander of the 33rd Flying Training Squadron, training students in the T-6 Texan.
I'm Lieutenant Colonel Eric Pounds, Commander, 71st Student Squadron.
Today's ceremony is a once-in-a-lifetime event. We encourage you to come forward and take pictures or videos when your loved one is presented with an award or their wings. For your planning purposes, the wings are presented by rank and then alphabetical order.
Please stand for the entrance of the official party and remain standing for the national anthems of Romania, Saudi Arabia, and the United States, followed by the invocation given by Chaplain Gilmore.
As I pray in my tradition, I invite you to pray in yours or simply observe a moment of silence. Let's pray. Dear God, I want to thank you for the great privilege it is to come before you now so we can collectively celebrate the hard work and dedication of these graduates in Class 2401. Thank you, God, that they are joined by not only their fellow graduates, but family members and friends. I thank you also that to this point you have kept them safe on this journey, and I do pray that you would continue to watch over them from this point forward. I do pray that as they reflect on and celebrate this momentous day, that they might be able to truly appreciate what is very clearly an amazing step forward in their Air Force journey. I do pray that as they reflect on and celebrate even more, that they would be able to celebrate continually with the loved ones that they hold dearest to them. I do ask that in your divine providence, you would empower these pilots to also be great leaders. Use them to be leaders in their upcoming classes and in their careers, so that we are even better equipped to engage the threats that we face as a nation and as a world. Help them to be the kind of officers that lead by example in their professional and in their personal lives. In their personal lives, God, I ask that you would help them to strive for the ability to be the kind of person who is continually contributing to a healthy home. Help them to be truly present when they are with their loved ones. Help them to aim towards finding a healthy balance of being an excellent officer and a father or mother or husband or wife or brother or sister. Thank you, God, for the great privilege of being able to come here and celebrate with them. Thank you, God, for who you've made them to be. And I pray these things in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Gilmore. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Today, 24 officers will receive their wings. On behalf of Colonel Charles Throckmorton IV, Commander, 71st Flying Training Wing, I would like to welcome the families and friends of Class 2401, as well as several members of Team Vance, including squadron commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, spouses, and our ASRC and Amentum contractors.
We are honored to have the following guests from our civil and wing leadership here to support the graduates. The Mayor, City of Enid, the Honorable David Mason. First Sergeant, 71st Operations Group, Senior Master Sergeant Christy Nixon. The Commander, 71st Mission Support Group, Colonel Nikita Little. First Sergeant, 71st Mission Support Group, Master Sergeant Austin Wyman. The Commander, 71st Medical Group, Colonel Rick Speakman. Additionally, we are honored to have the following distinguished visitors as special guests of Class 2401. Please stand or wave your hand to be recognized. Ambassador Robert O'Brien, former U.S. Ambassador and National Security Advisor, and his spouse, Louisa. Colonel Tony Kim, United States Air Force, retired, and his spouse, Lisa. Colonel Brendan Ludden, United States Air Force, retired.
We would also like to give a warm welcome to our guest speaker, Colonel J.P. Pauls, Commander, 71st Operations Group, and the Deputy Commander, 71st Flying Training Wing, Colonel Matthew Astroth. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Astroth.
Recovering from a cold, so I'm a little dry this morning. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and pilots. That's you guys down here in the front row. It's my privilege to welcome you to Vance Air Force Base in Enid, America. Today is an incredible day in the lives of these 24 fine aviators down here as we recognize Undergraduate Pilot Training Class 2401. Mayor Mason, thank you for always coming out to support us here. For those that don't know, Enid is a wonderful place to have Vance Air Force Base. To To prove that, the Air Education and Training Command Altitude Trophy goes to the community that supports their base the best out of all of ATC. And ATC encompasses all recruiting across the nation, so it's a pretty large, it's a command with a pretty large area of operations. So for Enid to get the Altitude Trophy really is a testament to how much support we get from our community. And then more so, they were runners-up the 2 previous years. So, Mayor, thank you so much for all your support. We could not thank you more. To my fellow wing leadership group, squadron commanders and chiefs, and our government civilians and contract teammates, and to all of Team Vance, welcome to today's ceremony. Today would not be possible without the efforts that you put into these young men and women down in front of me. I'd also like to welcome Ambassador O'Brien. Thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule to be here. Along with other members of the U.S. branches of military, active, Guard, Reserve, and retired, you and those that served before us have paved the way for us to be here today, and you deserve special recognition. To the spouses, fiancés, those who want to be fiancés, moms, dads, grandparents, brothers, sisters, children, and extended family members of Class 2401, welcome to today's ceremony. You've provided our graduates with the foundation, the principles, and the moral compass, and the necessary work ethic to make it through a very, very demanding program. Thank you for sharing this great day with us, and welcome to Vance Air Force Base. For those unfamiliar with Air Force pilot training, Vance is one of the 4 Air Force bases whose primary mission is to conduct undergraduate pilot training, preparing and delivering highly qualified aviators and for follow-on training in various aircraft in the United States and our partner nations. In executing that mission, Vance Air Force Base has delivered over 35,000 world-class pilots since 1941, including such notables as General Richard Myers, General Ronald Fogelman, and Colonel Eileen Collins, the first female to command a space shuttle mission. Just like you, these Air Force heroes walked the same flight rooms you did and learned how to be pilots with VN on their tail flash. I know you'll follow in their footsteps and make us Vance proud. Class 2401, I'd like to share with you my favorite quote from Winston Churchill. To each there comes a time in their lives, a special moment, when they are figuratively tapped on the shoulder and offered a chance to do a very special thing, unique to them and fitted to their talents. What a tragedy if that moment finds them unprepared or unqualified for that which could have been their finest hour. Class 2401, I assure you that moment will come and that you are ready. I can confidently make that statement because you have been weighed and measured by the best instructors our country has to offer. Speaking of team, it takes a total team effort to get our students to this day, and I'm proud of the collective effort and that contributed to Class 2401's graduation. We pour a ton of resources into our students. In fact, we invest over $1 million in each of them to turn them into the Air Force's next generation of pilots and leaders. However, it's not just money that gets them to this point. It takes the collective effort of over 2,600 airmen, government civilians, contract partners here at Vance, and whether supporting, generating, or executing the flying mission, you all played a vital role in the graduation of Class 2401. Among that group, I'd like to single out 3 groups to specifically recognize. First is our instructor pilots. If you notice, we don't have many of them in the audience today because they are up there flying right now with the next class of graduates. They are the backbone of Vance, and they deserve special recognition. Second is our amazing team of professionals who maintain our aircraft. Pilots break them and maintainers fix them, and I've flown with several of you, and I know exactly how you land. So we have an incredible team of contract and government civilians who are every bit airmen as those wearing a uniform. They couldn't execute the mission without you, and a special thanks to Mr. Brady Wilkins and the Amentum team for ensuring our fleet of over 200 aircraft are ready to go every day. Third and finally are the fantastic men and women that make up our support and medical corps. Cops, services, finance, MPF, dental, flight medicine, just to name a few. Class 2401, the wings you're about to hand you wouldn't be possible without their help. All right, last point. There's 2 questions you guys are going to receive once you graduate. Every pilot's heard them, and we continue to hear them to this day. Is what class were you, and where did you go to pilot training? Make no mistake, you're class 2401, and you went to Vance, and nothing gets better than that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and privilege to introduce our guest speaker, my friend and colleague, Colonel J.P. Pauls. JP graduated from the Air Force Academy in 1999. As a command pilot, he has more than 3,500 flying hours in the T-37 as a FAPE here at Vance. See, it's okay to be a FAPE. T-38 F-15E, which includes 650 combat hours supporting Iraqi freedom, enduring freedom, and inherent resolve. As a graduate of the Command and General Staff School and School of Advanced Military Studies at Fort Leavenworth, JP brings an amazing perspective of professionalism to the team here at Vance. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Colonel Pauls.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Vance Air Force Base. Let me wish you a happy Fast Jet Friday, as we like to say in the flying business. Today is truly one of those once-in-a-lifetime moments, and I'm honored to share it with you all. I'd like to begin by extending my own welcome to Mayor Mason. We are so fortunate here at Vance to have the community of Enid as our partner here. Your focus to our mission, your focus on us as airmen is unlike anything else in the Air Force, Mayor, and I'm so grateful, so thank you very much for being here today, as always. A special welcome to my fellow wing leaders. I love graduation day for many reasons, but among them is the fact that I get to spend an hour with you all celebrating the accomplishments of our collective efforts. You are an amazing teammate, and I am lucky that I get to call you my peer and, more importantly, my friend. So thank you all. To Captain Solik, the entire Stu Scrad team, Wing Protocol, and PA, thank you for organizing this event in the world-class way you do every time. I'd also like to extend a special welcome and thank you to Colonel Kissinger and Colonel Pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, these 2 men are the squadron commanders that have brought these pilots to the place they are today. They are alchemists. They know how to take pedestrians and make them pilots and do it in the shortest amount of time possible to the highest standards. They're amazing officers and leaders, and if you get a chance today, I'd encourage you to shake their hands, say thank you, and get to know them just a little bit. To the friends and family of 2401 AU, welcome and thank you for being here on this special day. Today we're going to recognize your individual graduates, but I know all too well that wherever there is the appearance of individual accomplishment, there is also evidence of a collective effort that it took to get them there. You laid the foundation. You raised children into adults of character, or maybe you helped them through some challenging times, like pilot training. They wouldn't be here today without your support, so let me extend my thanks and my gratitude. This is also a moment where we get reminded, those of us who get to do this every 3 weeks, of the giants that have come before us, right? There's the saying in the military about how we stand on the shoulders of those who come before us, and we see that every 3 weeks with the family members who come in, so a special thanks and my appreciation for all those who have served before us. Finally, to the graduates, welcome. I'm so excited to share this special day with you. It's an important moment in your life, and I hope you can slow down today and take in all the details, because I know you're already running fast in the next program. Now, like most people who are invited to speak at UPT graduation ceremonies, I found myself reliving my own graduation ceremony over 20 years ago. And this is the point where many grad speakers remark, where they note the fact that they don't remember who their grad speaker was or what they even had to say. This is a self-deprecating joke, and it serves as a reminder to be quick or be funny, because you probably won't be remembered unless you violate the first 2 rules. But 2401, I don't share that experience. So I can't really make that joke, even though I just tried to do it. Because on February 16, 2001, the day I graduated from class 0105 here at Vance Air Force Base, sitting in the same seats you're sitting in now, my grad speaker that day was my hero and a legend. So I remember him vividly. And more importantly, I remember how I felt that day listening to him speak. So today, instead of trying to say something funny or be quick in offering unsolicited advice that I know you're probably going to forget, I'd like to tell you about my graduation speaker, Robbie Reisner, and I'd like to tell you how I felt that day, as I got to be in his presence for one of the greatest hours of my life. My hope today is that you remember him. I think you will. I also hope that you experience some of the same feelings and sentiments that I had on that day, and I also think you probably will. Now, a quick warning. I'm going to speak from the heart, and to do that, I don't feel like I can chain myself to a script, and so this might get a little messy at times. I ask your forgiveness in advance, but I promise that what I lack in delivery today, I'm going to make up for in sincerity and genuine sentiment. So let me start by introducing James Robinson Reisner to all of you in case you don't know who he is. Robbie Reisner was born in Mammoth Spring, Arkansas in 1925. My grandfather was born in 1925, and I think one of the things of that generation is the Depression really did a lot to shape that generation. This was also part of the greatest generation that served in World War II. Certainly that was the case for Robbie Reisner. Growing up in the Depression, he was involved in athletics. He raced horses growing up. He went to high school in Tulsa, Oklahoma and graduated there in 1942. After graduation, he went to pilot training at Williams Field in Arizona. So it's proof that even Robbie Reisner wasn't perfect. He didn't go to Vance. But he did graduate, did very well, and commissioned in the Army Air Corps at the time in May of 1944. Now, General Reisner obviously wanted to go to World War II and serve there, but he missed it. He wasn't able to serve there. After the war, he spent some time in Central America, and after the war, he joined the Oklahoma Air National Guard, where they were flying P-51s and later on F-51s, effectively the same plane. But in 1952, as the Korea War raged on, he felt a calling, and he was able to rejoin the active component in the active force, where he was assigned to the 336 Fighter Squadron in the 4th Fighter Wing at Kimpo Air Base in Korea. There he flew over 100 missions in the F-86 Sabre, fighting MiG-15s. He's credited with 8 air-to-air kills and was the 20th jet ace of the Korean War. Interesting note, too, and we hear a lot about Pardo's push from Vietnam, and I won't go into that story, but it really all started with Reisner in the Korean War. He had a wingman one day who was all shot up, running out of gas, and he was able to push him with his F-86 by using the nose of his airplane against the back of his wingman's airplane. He was able to push him 60 miles and get him to a safe place where his wingman was able to bail out. Unfortunately, his wingman later died as he landed in the water and was caught up in his parachute. But Reisner was able to effectively push his wingman to safety that day. So Pardo wasn't the first, even though that's a great story too. Between Korean and Vietnam Wars, General Reisner served in several assignments, but he continued to mostly fly the F-86, and he also flew the F-100. Again, proof that nobody is safe from staff or PME. General Reisner had to attend Air War College in 1960 and then went on to a staff tour, but at least he chose Hawaii, unlike the Pentagon, where many of us have had to serve. And so he did that in 1960 and 61. But after that, he served as the commander of the 67th Fighter Squadron at Kadena Air Base in Japan, flying F-105s, and there began his time in Vietnam. In 64, he was featured on the cover of Time magazine. And in April of 1965, he was shot down the first time in North Vietnam, where he was rescued and later returned to duty. But in September 1965, he was shot down again, and this is where he was captured. And this is where most of us who really know Reisner, who have studied or read about him, this is the part of his life and his career that we have all studied, and we have come to admire him so greatly for. Because from 1965 until 1971, I believe, he served as a POW in the Hanoi Hilton for roughly 7.5 years. Initially, he was the senior ranking officer, and then later served as the vice commander of what became known as the 4th Allied POW Wing. And I got my date wrong, apologize. He was repatriated as part of Operation Homecoming in February of 1973. Now the math adds up. And he returned to combat mission ready status in the F-4 in July 1973, 5 months later. I found this fascinating, by the way, when I think about having gone through a couple of fighter training courses myself, to go from a repatriated POW to combat mission ready in an F-4 in a matter of 5 months. Normally, the normal flow of that would probably take you about a year. He served in several more assignments after that until his retirement in August of 1976, and ultimately died later at October 2013 and was interred in Arlington National Cemetery in January of 2014. He's an amazing man and had an amazing career. As a POW, he served almost 7.5 years, 3 of them in solitary confinement. Think about that. in an area a fraction of the size of this stage. He would he would live his life in a room completely blacked out, no windows, no company, no fellow prisoners to keep his spirits up. As the SRO and then later as the vice wing commander of the Allied POW wing, he got way more attention from his captors than your typical prisoners. They knew exactly who he was because of the Time magazine article. They knew everything about his family. They were able to use that and abuse him in special ways that most of the other POWs did not have to go through. Not only did he have to endure that punishment, he had to serve as a leader in that environment. And it is fascinating. There's not enough time to go into it today, but I would encourage you all to study and read about that fortitude and that commitment. There are two quick stories I would like to tell. The first one goes to the Korean War, or dates back to the Korean War, and this gets to the Robbie Reisner I got to meet and the spirit of the man I got to enjoy. So later on in his life, in the 90s, he participated in what are called the Gathering of Eagles. Air University will set these up about once a year, and he participated in 6 of these. And they bring in former serving officers, former leaders, and it's an opportunity for professional development for students that are currently there at AU and those kinds of things. One year they brought in some of the Russian pilots that had served as MiG pilots in the Korean War. And again, at the time, that was not supposed to be happening, but it was. And at one point, one of the Russian pilots, realizing that they had flown in the skies of Korea at roughly the same time, posed the question, hey, I wonder if we ever met in combat. Without missing a beat, Reisner immediately responded, no way. You wouldn't be here if we had. That's right. I love this story because it gets to the supreme confidence of the man, and this is what I got to meet the day he was my grad speaker. Supremely confident, but never arrogant. It was fascinating to see that and to see that in action. Second story I'd like to tell you about is the 9-foot tall story. Everybody, how many Academy grads do we have? Absolutely. So in the Air Gardens at the Air Force Academy, there's this statue of Robbie Reisner, and it's 9 feet tall. And that's significant. In 1971, the POWs had been reorganized. So this is after 1969. Prior to 1969, the treatment of the POWs was particularly brutal. A lot of isolation. But after 1969, there were some things that had happened that allowed for a little bit more of some better living conditions for the POWs, and they were able to be reorganized into bigger community groups. Well, the POWs wanted to organize a church service, and this was forbidden by their captors. And as one of the leaders, it was Reisner who was part of both organizing this, but ultimately he was the one where everybody had to come to him, all the prisoners, and ultimately make sure that the leadership of the Allied POW wing was on board with that. And so he approved this church service, and when he did it, he knew he would receive punishment for this. And so as the church service began, the captors came in and broke it up, and Reisner gets hauled away along with a few of the other leaders, and he's going to receive some particularly brutal punishment for this act. And as Reisner's hauled away, Bud Day, a Medal of Honor recipient, stands up and starts singing the Star-Spangled Banner, to which all of the other POWs present joined in. And this leads to the famous Reisner quote. As they hauled him away, he said, "I felt like I was 9 feet tall and could whip a bear with a switch." I love that story. February 16, 2001 was the day I met him, and I met him in that very foyer that you walked into this building today. At the time, he was 76 years old, and the effects of 7.5 years of captivity were noticeable. He was a tall man, but he kind of was slunched over, and his hands would shake a little bit, but he had a firm hand grip, a handshake, and his voice would waver a little bit. But he was full of energy, and when he arrived that day, you knew it. And you didn't have to see him walk into the building to know he was there. The energy came with him. And he was excited. And he was excited to meet us. He was excited to be around pilots and to be around this mission. And that's what he wanted to talk about that day. He didn't want to talk to Colonel Rayberg about what was going on in the Air Force. He wanted to talk to us, the lieutenants, the pilots. What was it like to fly? How was the mission? How are you all doing? It was awesome. This is where I started to see the supreme confidence without the slightest hint of arrogance, the humility. The day he spoke at this very spot, he spoke about his experiences in Vietnam. He spoke about his love of God, family, country, and the mission, and his love for his fellow airmen. And he talked about how his love for these things got him through the toughest moments of his life. And when we received our wings, he stood where I'm going to stand today. And he was the first person to shake our hands and say, "Congratulations, well done." And he meant it. Today I get to stand in that spot, and I still get chills on this stage whenever I'm there. Today I get to shake your hand. I hope you remember the spirit of Reisner, and I hope someday you'll remember that 20 years from now, 40 years from now. When you're old and senile and can't remember much else, I hope you'll remember the moment that you walked across this stage. And I hope you remember the spirit of Reisner was here today. And there'll be some colonel who you can't remember, but we were the first people to welcome you into the long blue line. On that day, as I sat in those seats, I felt a sense of purpose derived by being part of something bigger in yourself that I had not felt before. And I know that's kind of a cliched sentiment at times, or that we talk about, this idea of being bigger than part of something bigger than yourself. But I experienced that to a level and a depth listening to Reiser that day that I had not yet experienced. I also found myself asking the following question. If I were in Robbie Reisner's shoes, would I be ready? Would I be able to answer that call? I don't just mean the things he did as a POW, right? Those are extreme, right? But I mean in 1952, would I have been ready to go fly that F-86 and take on a MiG-15 that could climb faster, get higher, fly faster, and use my skill and my wits and my training and my cunning and, more importantly, my courage, and defeat my enemy? The thing I would like to leave you with today is that in 1942, he was just like all of you. He's a graduate of pilot training, sitting in those seats. The best training in the world, no experience, and the world in front of him. And I'd offer this thought that I hope you'll remember. You have every day between now and the day you're called to get ready. I hope you'll spend that time in preparation. Okay, final story. And this is my favorite. I think it was after graduation, but I was asking some of my other pilot training classmates about this recently, and some think it's before, so I apologize on the detail. But this is my Robbie Reisner story, and you won't read about this one anywhere else. But we were standing in that foyer, and we gathered around him, and he started telling us stories about flying, right? And he was telling us about the favorite planes that he flew F-105s and F-4s and all of it. But of all the planes he flew, his favorite was the F-86. And he started talking about the F-86. And if you remember that old man I was describing, the 76-year-old I described that walked into the building that day, full of energy, but also the wear and tear of life in 7.5 years in prison. But as he spoke about the F-86 and as he talked about fighting MiGs in Korea, I saw him getting taller, maybe 9 feet tall. And his hands got steady, and his voice got steady. And standing in front of you, I kid you not, I saw the 25-year-old man that was gunning MiGs in Korea, and he talked about how much he loved it. And he talked about how great it was. And I knew right then and there that I had chosen the right profession. It was awesome. In closing, Class 2401AU, I'd like to offer my congratulations. I'm so very proud of you all and everything that you've accomplished to get here today. As you know, this is really just the start of the journey, and I look forward to continuing your training in the coming months. I'll finish my remarks the way I think Robbie did the day he spoke here, and it's the tradition that goes back to the POWs of the Hanoi Hilton. And while he tapped it out, I don't know the tap code well enough, but basically it was to simply say, GBU. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Pauls. Class 2401 would like to present you with a small token of their appreciation for being a part of this special occasion.
We will now recognize individuals who excelled in one or more phases of training. The new pilots competed for academic, leadership, and flying training awards, as well as the top wingman, distinguished graduate, and the coveted AATC Commander's Trophy. Each phase of training was carefully weighed, and only a slight margin separated the top performers. Colonel Speakman will now present the Academic Excellence Award to the pilots whose overall academic test averages exceeded those of their peers. The first recipient of the Academic Award is First Lieutenant Joshua L. Budig. The second recipient of the Academic Award is First Lieutenant Brendan J. Hennessy Rose.
Yep. Get all the pictures.
All day long.
Colonel Little will now present the Leadership Award. The Leadership Award is presented to the officer who demonstrated outstanding leadership qualities and potential throughout this most rigorous and demanding military training program. The recipient of the Leadership Award is Captain Jacob M. Nesper.
And now, Colonel Pauls will present the Flying Training Award. The Flying Training Award is presented to the pilot whose daily flying performance and check ride scores exceeded those of their peers. The recipient of the Flying Training Award is Second Lieutenant Terry F. Ballou Crawford.
Colonel Ashroth will now present the Top Wingman Award, selected by their peers. The Top Wingman Award is presented to the graduate who epitomized the support and teamwork critical to being a great wingman. The recipient of the Top Wingman Award is First Lieutenant Brendan J. Hennessy Rose.
Don't be afraid to come on down. This is pre-wedding practice, so, especially for the other fiancés.
Colonel Ashroth will now present the Distinguished Graduate Awards. To be selected for this honor, a student must maintain an exceptionally high average in all phases of training and finish in the top 10% of the class. The first recipient of the Distinguished Graduate Award is Second Lieutenant Terry F. Ballou Crawford. The second recipient of the Distinguished Graduate Award is Second Lieutenant Cassandra L. Laidlaw.
Finally, the most prestigious trophy that Air Education and Training Command presents to a pilot training graduate is the AETC Commander's Trophy. This pilot excelled in both flying and academics and demonstrated the initiative and leadership qualities essential to the professional Air Force officer. Additionally, they personify the tenets of the Order of the Dedalians, a group dedicated to military aviation, personal integrity, and patriotism. Colonel Ashroth will now present this special award reserved for the officer who attained the highest overall rating throughout the program. The winner of the AETC Commander's Trophy is Second Lieutenant Cassandra L. Laidlaw.
At this time, Colonel Ashroth would like to recognize the instructor pilots selected by Class 2401 who most embodied the Air Force core values during T6 training and provided exceptional mentorship and instruction. Colonel Ashroth will present the recipients with a plaque in recognition of their hard work. Receiving the award from the 33rd Flying Training Squadron, Captain Matthew Breen. And also receiving an award from the 33rd, First Lieutenant Cole Welsh. This concludes the awards portion of the ceremony. And now the time that we've all been waiting for. Colonel Ashroth will formally present the diplomas and pilot wings to our graduates. As they exit the stage, they will receive a commemorative coin with their unique graduation number from the 71st Student Squadron First Sergeant, Senior Master Sergeant Joshua McCaslin. The new pilots, families, and friends are invited to pin on the Air Force wings following the graduation ceremony.
Having completed the required course of training, the following officers from Class 2401 are awarded the aeronautical rating of Air Force Pilot. Captain Jacob M. Nesper.
First Lieutenant Joshua L. Budig.
First Lieutenant Bridget M. Calvert.
First Lieutenant Patrick M. Dillon.
First Lieutenant Brendan J. Hennessy Rose.
First Lieutenant Jack T. Morgan.
First Lieutenant Lauren M. O'Brien. Congratulations.
First Lieutenant Marianne R. Popa.
Congratulations. Second Lieutenant William S. Adams.
Second Lieutenant Abdullah O. Amaki.
Second Lieutenant Terry F. Ballou Crawford.
Second Lieutenant Ryan C. Brown.
Second Lieutenant Alexander T. Day.
Second Lieutenant Patrick Miko L. Dela Cruz.
Second Lieutenant Jacob M. Dietrich. We'll see how it goes.
Second Lieutenant Grant S. Gustafson.
Second Lieutenant Justin Carl M. Hontonosis. Did I nail it? All right.
Second Lieutenant McKenna E. Izzy.
Congratulations. Second Lieutenant Gavin K. Kim.
Second Lieutenant Cassandra L. Laidlaw.
Great job. Second Lieutenant Adelina R. Martinez.
Second Lieutenant Tanner M. Mitchie.
Second Lieutenant Ryan D. Nelson. Congratulations.
Second Lieutenant Paul B. Talty. And now, Colonel Ashroth will present Class 2401.
Class, attention. About face. Ladies and gentlemen, your newest Air Force aviators.